Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another opposition preview. I'm joined here today with Tom Oxland. He's a Birmingham City fan, covers Birmingham as their fan pundit for Football League World. So, Tom, just how's life been as a Blues fan so far? You've had a really poor start to the season, but you seem to be having an upturn in form.
Yeah, it's interesting, really. I mean, at the start of the season, we were playing fairly well. We got a good result against Huddersfield in the first home game, but after that, it was draws here and there. Some solid points like Luton away, that was a really good point. Watford at home was a decent point as well. But then we had two really poor performances against Rotherham and Wigan, particularly the Wigan one because they were down to 10 men and we lost at home despite dominating the game. And then Rotherham was just appalling all ends out, and we made Richard Wood look like prime Pele. So, it was looking a bit bleak, but then obviously we had that great win at Preston, and our season has just gone full steam ahead ever since. I'm having to pinch myself constantly, to be honest, because it just doesn't feel quite real, considering we were predicted to finish bottom of the table at the start of the league. So don't want to get ahead of myself too much, but we're going to win the league.
that doesn't really fill me with confidence, Tom. You need to be like talking them down and then like surprising. but the poor start to the season that we kind of just touched on there, what do you think that was down to, and why have things turned? You mentioned that Preston game. Why have things turned from that point onwards?
I think it was more down to the fact that, we've made a few key signings since those games. And also Eustace hadn't really decided on his starting 11. So it took a few games to really settle on a lineup. But then when we settled, we rarely make any changes ever since. So, since we won at Preston, there's only one change that we really tend to make on rotation, and that's Bacuna and Hannibal. But for me, it was said on the Second Tier podcast the other day, actually. For me, I feel we have the best midfield in the Championship right now, and that's what makes this team so good. Obviously, we got Bielik in the holding role. Keeping him fit has been crucial this season, and he's been a different gravy, an absolute monster in that holding role, because he's great on the ball, can control the play, and he's got a great defensive side to his game as well, and good aerial presence. But when you've got technical ability like Chong and Hannibal in front of him, like it's ridiculous. Hannibal is just he's he's crazy, but a good crazy. Lots of technical ability, very hungry, very aggressive. But that aggression is what fuels him, and probably is the best side of his game, because it is most of the time control aggression. And whereas Chong just brings just pure class on the ball and is the driving force going forward. So for me, it's the perfect blend in midfield. And you can take any of those boys out and bring Bacuna in, who his passing this season has been De Bruyne level. You watch West Brom away, that's the second goal. The pass he makes for that is ridiculous.
This is probably the most nervous I've felt for a game now. Thanks, Tom.
I'm sorry.
That just, it doesn't seem like a Blues thing to say that.
No, it really doesn't.
And it worries me a lot being a Stoke fan, because I think our midfield is probably one of our weak points in a sense. It should be doing better. I think I'll get crucified by Stoke fans for this, but I'll happily say it. We missed Joe Allen, and that's, for me, he was our glue in our midfield that would, even if he wasn't doing much, he would basically get it to, he'd drop deep from midfield, get it from defence, then that would turn into attack. Yeah, I thought he was quite underrated. I know he was slaughtered, and maybe sometimes rightly so, but that's my personal opinion. I think our midfield's been weaker ever since. Baker's not been the same player. Laurent's not been the same player. Smallbone's okay here and there, but it just worries me that you've said something like that, because the vision in my head is that our midfield is going to get cut apart from this game, because it's just not what we do. We just don't have that kind of midfield to attack, defence to midfield. It just seems to be our missing link at the moment. We need a holding midfielder in there. So that fills me with a bit of worry. I won't lie to you. But moving on from our midfield, a former midfielder of Stoke is your manager, John Eustace. We know what he's like a little bit as a player, but what's he like as a manager? What sort of qualities has he got? I mean, he must be doing all right if you've been saying all these things about him.
Yeah, no, he's been brilliant. Breath of fresh air at Blues, to be honest. He was set the impossible challenge at the start of the season of somehow keeping us up and turning us around, and he's gone and virtually doubled that. And I've not heard a bad word said about him. I mean, even when we appointed him, there were people in the football industry that had really great things to say about him. He dabbled in football management, did really well at Kidderminster. I mean, when his Kidderminster teams were described, they were sort of described as the Barcelona and non-league. So that sort of gave you a vibe of what sort of football was going to be played. But for me, I took that as a negative, because whenever I've seen managers come into Blues in the past and try and play nice football, it never ends well. We just don't normally have the ability to do that because of the type of team we are and just always have been. But yeah, no, he did well at QPR as well. Had a brief sort of a role where he actually was first team coach for a bit on an interim basis, and studied under Mark Warburton as his assistant, and then went to Republic of Ireland national team. So it's quite a good resume. So I was more than open to give a young, exciting manager a proper chance, and we've done that before, and it has paid off, and it looks like it's going to pay off again. Style of sort of manager, though, I'd say he's a lot more of a man manager than he is sort of the tactical side. Although his tactical side, he does get it right, particularly substitutions and just managing the game. Game management is fantastic. Tactics-wise, we tend to set up just the same way every game. Hard to beat. And we like to play on the counter a lot, but we can switch it up a little bit depending on what sort of team we're against. We tend to fare off better against the teams that we should lose to, the bigger sides, than we do the smaller sides. Maybe that's an expectation thing. It's just a very Blues thing to do, to be honest. But overall, his man management is probably his best trait. He's a very motivating manager, and obviously being a Brummie boy, probably was a Villa fan when he was younger. I think we all know it. But he does say he's a blue nose now, so we'll go with it. And he does understand the culture of the club, and he's made that very clear in all of his interviews. And he wants the players to be in touch with the club and everyone to just feel part of one group, and everyone just fighting for the team and nothing else. So yeah, it's very special what he's done. And you can just see it from every single player smiling. They might not be playing, but they're happy. So yeah, it's really, really refreshing. It's hard to really believe.
Yeah, it's another one that's filled me with dread there as well. But with John Eustace, there's a thing about John Eustace. You say you've never heard a bad word about him. I heard that one of our former players, Liam Lawrence, punched him in a dressing room once. That was apparently. Then they moved on the next day and it was fine. So it just was.
It was probably Liam Lawrence being a dick, because John Eustace is the greatest guy I have ever known in my lifetime. There we go. That's it.
I think it's fairly well known. But another former Stoke player is in your team, Scott Hogan. That's probably a name that our Stoke fans haven't heard I haven't heard in about probably 3 years. But Scott, when he was at Stoke, it's the classic Stoke striker problem. We get a striker that's a good striker who scored 20 goals at championship level beforehand. Then they put on a Stoke shirt, and all of a sudden, you can barely get 5 out of them. The same things happen with Gale, Delap right now. It happened with Hogan. It happened with Benicophobe. Happened with Lee Gregory. But he wasn't great for us. But has he been? What's he like for you? And could he pose a danger to us?
Scott Hogan has been brilliant for Blues. He's not long ago he's just exceeded 100 appearances. I mean, when he first came on loan to the club, he was on fire. I remember when he first signed, he went on to score like 9 goals in 7 appearances or something mental like that. He was just everything we sort of needed in a striker. And this season he's been great again. Obviously, he's our top scorer. but he's just been clinical. He's been quick, but he's also developed on his game, as in working for a team. But the biggest thing is his work rate. I think everyone always used to sort of complain about his work rate in previous seasons because he'd sort of just he'd still be mobile on the front foot, but he wouldn't really track back. He wouldn't put any pressure on defenders. This season, he's been relentless. His fitness levels have improved so much. He presses relentlessly, and his pace, it scares defenders into making mistakes, concede throw-ins. He's just a different beast. He's worked on being better in a front two, and being able to sort of assist a man, or just being able to be that third man to allow a midfielder to run through. Yeah, it's been really refreshing. But as Scott Hogan goes, his main trait is being a poacher that's just able to run in behind in a flash, in a really sort of fast-paced situation and grab you a goal in just out of nothing. I mean, a good example of that is obviously West Brom. He was just here, there, and everywhere. He ripped them apart, and for me, this season is the best he's been since we first signed him. And he's working well for the team. That's that extra little bit. So I don't have a bad word to say about him so far this season, and long may it continue.
So I'm sorry, this is Scott Hogan we're talking about, right?
Yes, this is genuinely Scott Hogan. I know, Scott Hogan with work rate. It's unbelievable. But that's the John Eustace effect. He's got players playing out of their skin, compared to what they normally would be. I mean, he'd worked with Scott Hogan previously, briefly at international level. But no, he's really just sort of reinvigorated Scott Hogan's career, just completely re-energized it. And he's a whole new beast this season. But, he's not scoring loads and loads of goals. I think he's on like a tally of 6 or 7 now. But he's just there, right place, right time. And yes, he still misses the occasional one-on-one. That's probably his biggest fault. If you give Scott Hogan too much time to think about it, then he will miss. But if you give him no time to think about it at all, he'll score. He's got really good first instinct, but if you give him time on the ball, then it probably won't go down too well. Other than that, no one's perfect, but he's been brilliant. I think his partnership with Troy has really helped him, and Troy has put, as a captain, has put a lot more self-belief into the whole squad, but particularly Scott Hogan. I mean, after West Brom, there was videos of Troy Deeney putting his arm around Scotty Hogan, saying, "How good was this guy tonight?" And just it's really nice to see, because Scott Hogan, the way he's described as a character, he's quite quiet, but very, very funny character, and sort of makes good jokes, but always at the wrong time. So just one of those lads that would always put a smile on your face, I imagine. So. It's really refreshing. I just think everyone in this blue squad seems to gel well.
Well, what you said about Hogan there just completely encapsulates his best ever moments in a Stoke shirt for me. And it's like, it was no trophy or anything like that, but our first win of the season when we were bottom of the league under Nathan Jones.
Was it Swansea away?
Yeah, Swansea. And
you
just described there about being a poacher in the box. Scott Hogan had to beg to get on the team bus to actually go to the game because he wasn't going to go be in the squad in the first place. Ended up going, was on the squad, and then we get a free kick in about the 93rd minute. He just comes straight into the goalkeeper's parried it, just comes straight in and just poaches it away. And I think that's the kind of Scott Hogan we needed, but probably you got right now. I think there was still a lot of trouble around the Stoke dressing room at that time, and I think maybe he's benefited from having a really good dressing room, like you've said, with like Deeney's a big character, isn't he? And then
massive.
Then you've got the young lads in there like Chong, Hannibal, who you can sort of gel really well with, and I mean, even last year, apparently, I don't know him as a person, but I've always heard that Taylor was Lyle Taylor's quite good at having a dressing room from like other people that I've heard.
Yeah, it's weird. Like he seemed like a really good character and fan favorite, but then pre-season, Deeney nothing personal, but he did sort of fire shots at Lyle Taylor a bit, saying, he scored one more penalty than me, and the fans love him, and I get all the stick. So, yeah, I don't know, but I think Lyle Taylor was just a Lebo your boy. I don't think it was sort of more of a Birmingham City connection thing. It was more of that chemistry with a particular manager.
Yeah, I think that's just the dressing room, though. I think there's thing to be said about how you have a good dressing room, because you fit to be bottom of the league, get straight away relegated. Probably would have been relegated had not been for Derby, and then now you're doing really well. So
I know, it's great. Derby go down, we take their best player on loan. It's great. I find it personally hilarious. I think still one of my favourite chants to this day is when Derby County die. But yeah, it is what it is.
I think that's a Stoke fan favourite as well.
What many Midlands teams do like Derby County, realistically? I mean, I do have a few Derby County friends, but it doesn't mean I have any sympathy.
Yeah, there's a video that went around on Twitter of me. I stupidly uploaded it. It was for my uni coursework, but I go to Derby Uni, so it was their last day, and it kind of looked like I was like joining in their celebrations, when really it was just to get a good mark for my coursework. So I still get a few people calling me Derby fans here and there, but it's not like that when it's football. It's you know what I mean. It's a different thing.
I get it. Don't worry.
But just on the outside impressions, what have you made of Stoke this season? Because for a lot of people, I think on the outside, we tend to just be a disastrous, like sinking ship at the moment.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I think consistency has been your biggest issue. Alex Neil coming in, Stoke fans giving it the big one because they're Nick Sunderland's manager, and it's like, oh yeah, we're going up. I actually think you've been a worse team since bringing Alex Neil in, and you let Michael O'Neill go. And that doesn't mean I think that was the wrong decision, because I don't. I do think you probably needed to move on from Michael O'Neill, but I'm not sure Alex Neil was the right guy to do it. It might not have seemed a bad appointment on paper, obviously, because he has been so successful. But I don't know. It just didn't really seem like a right fit. So I don't know. It's one of them that will probably come good after he's had a season to really work with the players. But for me, you look at that Stoke team on paper, you should be top 10 easy. And the fact that you're not, it speaks volumes. And I think if you stay the way you are come sort of March, April, and you still haven't improved and you're in that lower end of the table, then I think questions could be asked of Alex Neil. Because this squad should be doing better. I mean, you said it yourself. You've got players like Delap, Gale, Smallbone, Laurent, Baker, even Wilmot and players like that. There's a really, really good squad there. It should not be having such a bad season as it is. But that's football for you, I guess, really, isn't it?
I think because when I said about whenever a player just puts on a Stoke shirt, they seem to perform poorly. It's that's because I can't put something on why there's a problem, because they go to other clubs and it's all of a sudden it's fine, it's good, and it's it's happy and all this stuff. Now at Stoke, why can't it be like that at Stoke? I always just think, why can't it be like that at Stoke? Why can't we get the best out of these players? It's because you can't put something on it that, because we've changed managers, so it's not the coaching probably, and then we've changed tactics, so it's probably not coaching. I don't know if it's just an embedded culture within the club that's probably just rotted in there, that's probably shouldn't be in there, which worries me. But
yeah, I mean,
I can't think of a solution otherwise.
Looking at your squad on paper as well, like there's some other players there that I just haven't mentioned, but are really, really good at this level, like Nick Powell, Jacob Brown, even Jagielka at Derby as well. That squad just shouldn't be doing as badly as it is. But I mean, obviously you did have a good win against Wigan. But then again, Wigan have the worst home form in the league. So is that really a good win to win 1-0 away at Wigan? Or is it
And we
something you would expect.
Amazingly as well. It's one of those where you can't just take the 3 points and then move on about it. Wizards have dribbled a great tweet out, just perfectly summed it up for me, which was, yes, get in. Now let's never speak of this game again. Sums it up, really. It's just like, it's not one of those iconic moments, one of those great performances. It's just got 3 points. That was it, really.
That was it, yeah. I mean, but in fairness, Josh Tymon, I think, has been quite the comeback story. I mean, I remember when he got taken off after 20 minutes under Nathan Jones once. I think it was against like Charlton or Preston or something like that.
Yeah, Preston.
That was it, yeah. And then obviously went on loan to Portugal, come back, and he's been a bit of a different beast for you guys.
That's all credit to Michael O'Neill, though. I think he got a lot of flack for his performances, but I think his player development with Josh has been excellent. And I think we've declined since West Brom. We won against West Brom at home last season when we got up to second and West Brom were top. So we peaked our championship. We peaked at that point and have gone down ever since. But a lot of it, I think, is down to Harry Souttar. That guy is the best championship defender in the league, easily. For me, anyway.
He's definitely up there. I don't easily up there in the top 5, and obviously he's a very unique defender for his physical stature alone, and to be as agile as he is. I believe he's still long-term injury at the moment, isn't he?
When he's coming back, he's played like 21 games, so the plan is to play first team games and then go into the World Cup and kind of get back to fitness really in the World Cup. I know it sounds stupid. That's just how massive we are, though, that players go to the World Cup so they can have like their fitness preparation, then go back to Stoke. That's the way it is, really. That's another one that the Wizards have tweeted out.
Fair play. Whatever works for you guys. I mean, I don't think we have that many players going to the World Cup anyway. So I think we're pushing to get Austin Trusty in the USA squad, and that's about it. Which, by the way, if he doesn't get in the USA squad, is the biggest robbery of all time. Because for me, he's been easily top 3 centre halves this season in the Championship, quite comfortably. He's left-footed. He's agile. He's just everything you want as a defender. Is American, funny, and just a very, very happy character. That's all I can say about him. And we chant USA.
That really go together for me. I just can't picture this guy.
I know. He came from the MLS. I fully expected him to be bad. I mean, Arsenal fans, when we obviously got him on loan from there, they were just like, oh yeah, pretty sure we just brought him to the club as a money laundering thing, because their owner has ties in the club that he came from in the MLS. But no, he's got real ability, and if he keeps going the way he is, being a left-footed centre-half as well makes him unique in itself, because it's harder to come by. He could have a serious career in the Premier League. Maybe not top 6 Arsenal level, but certainly at Premier League level. And has been by far our best defender this season. And his passion it'll bring a tear to your eye.
This thing, right? I was looking forward to like doing this, thinking, right, we can expose Blue's weaknesses here. But then you've just come out and said we've got a perfect team, we're the best team in the league, we're going to win the league, we're going to do all of this, and now we're 5-0 again, we've got 4-0 again, like we did to Watford.
Well, what's mad to me is we have the best defence in the league currently, and we've conceded the least amount of goals from open play. That is the most un-Birmingham City-like stat I have ever known. So. Yeah, it does give you that sort of bit of confidence going into every game, which is a nice feeling for a change. That doesn't mean I expect us to win, though. That's the only thing, because I actually think when we're a bad team, we seem to get a result away at Stoke. So if we're a half-decent team, sad, we're going to let ourselves down at Stoke away.
Confidence now that a really bad team can take on a really good team like Birmingham.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's one of them. It would be sort of classic Blues we finally lose at Stoke away when we're actually a half decent team for a change. Because I don't know, we just always seem to get a win or a draw at your place. Don't really ever tend to lose, other than I think there was one game in lockdown where we got battered 3-0.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, we were appalling anyway. When the game came back, when obviously the championship went back out, sort of back into lockdown, and the games were being played again. At the end of that season, we only picked up 3 points, and there were 3 draws. We didn't actually win a single game, so we were really, really bad. So I wasn't shocked that we lost the way we did. But yeah, other than that, I'll never forget Che Adams scoring that 1-0 at Stoke away. That was one of the highest points of my life.
There's a game that always sticks out to me with Blues because I've never really had since coming down to the championship. It's because you've always got a result there. It's not really an iconic game that I've always. But the game that always sticks out to me is we played in the League Cup together, and it was a 4-4 draw. And
I know this one.
But no one was mad after the game. It was just more like we've seen a great game of football here, and we're through to the next round. And I thought that's always the game that I kind of remember with Blues as me as a Stoke fan, essentially. But yeah, and I was there when Bellingham obviously scored, and there's that's that story as well.
I mean that was a crazy game. I remember because Ollie Lee scored a belter, Peter Lovenkrands scored. It was a mental game. I think Dan Burns scored as well.
He's gone on to have as well.
Yeah, exactly. And Matt Green. No, that was a crazy game, and but you guys had a really good Premier League side at the time, so we would have taken that result all day long. And that was the season we actually stayed up on goal difference with the Paul Caddis header. Yeah. So we weren't exactly a great team. So it was nice to actually be quite competitive against a half decent team for a change. So that was always a great match, to be fair.
Yeah. So I'm going to sort of wrap this thing up now, but Tom, we want to get a score prediction from you. First of all, how do you think the game is going to go with all the kind of things we mentioned about tactics? You seem to be playing a 3-5-2 quite a lot. Stoke seems to be going with a 4-3-3. Not great midfield, whereas you quote best midfield in the championship. How do you think this game is going to go, and what do you think the score is going to be?
Well, if we can overrun you in midfield, I'd back us. To be fair, but it's Blues. This is the thing. It's Blues, and that's the part of me I always need to just keep my head on, because it would be the most Birmingham City thing ever to go and lose this game by some distance. That's the only thing that worries me, because I don't want to sort of have this confidence, but then I feel like we should be winning the game. If I'm honest, I'd take a point. But realistically, you look at the two teams and compare the form. I think we should be winning this game. You know, we've beaten better teams, so why can't we win this game at the end of the day? I think it'd be good to get Bakuna back in the squad, maybe for Hannibal or Chong, just because, you know, just a bit of rotation, freshen it up. And Bakuna likes to ping them from millions of miles out, and hopefully he can bag one. So I don't know. It's a weird one, but I mean, we hadn't won at Hull in years, and we seem to win then. There are some results we've got at home that we wouldn't normally win before. So I'd like to think this season we're a different outfit. So let's go into it with a bit of confidence. And I'm going to say, because you don't actually score too many goals from open play, you do have...
We don't score too many goals from corners either, so take your pick.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, you got striking issues. If we're at it, we're bang at it. You know, we've got a sold out away end behind them. I do think we could win the game 2-0. So I am going to go with 2-0, but I would not rule out a 3-0 Stoke at all, because it would be such a Blues thing to do. But we have such an agile, high-energy, athletic squad that if you give us one moment to counter you on the break, just any space in wide areas, then you know it's game, set, match. To be honest, we will punish you if we're able to on the break. So if you're able to control that, then we tend to score most of our goals in the first half. So if you can keep it 0-0 at half time, then I think it's more the merrier, really, for Stoke. So it'll be interesting, but I am going to be confident and go 2-0 Blues.
Yeah, so the only thing that's kind of filling me with a little tiny bit of hope is that we obviously beat Sheffield United 3-1, and we were unbelievable against them, and they were top of the league. So that's the only glimmer of thing. If I can go, well, if Stoke play like that, then we could do what you were basically saying. Well, we could actually be like such a Blues thing to lose 3-0 to Stoke. When,
Oh, 100%.
you know what I mean? So I think I'm going to go 3-0 based on like your prediction, because obviously if you said that, that's just going to be my prediction now. And that's how I think this is going to play out now. But if we play like we did against Sheffield United, we would be really good. But the problem is we don't consistently perform like we do. We lost 3 on the bounce. Okay, we've got one okay win. That's great. But it's kind of the same thing again, like Sheffield United. We had lost to Watford 4-0. Game before, I think we lost 2-0. And then get a draw at Burnley. I mean, that's all right. We were lucky because we got battered. And then we just produced like that performance. And then we go on Preston. And then we lose again. And then we lose again. And then we lose again. And then we pick up a decent little win, and then something could happen here. That's what that's why I'm trying to think some ahead, because we're so inconsistent that we have.
Well, yeah, that's the thing with Stoke. You are just so inconsistent. So it could either be an absolute riot on our part, or you could walk all over us. It really just depends on how you turn up on the day. You're such a tough team to predict this year.
So yeah, I think based on what you said, I'm going to go 3-0, even though I probably don't think it's going to be 3-0. But based on you said, I'm going to go 3-0 to Stoke. But Tom, thank you so much for joining us. You've been a fantastic guest for us. Do make sure that you go and check out Tom's channel. Tom also has a podcast that he would like to promote as well. So Tom, stage is yours.
So I do a podcast with a few other lads, Mark Watson and Chris Pugh. It's more just a banter podcast where we talk a lot of Blues, but also just a general bit of comedy, sports, all sorts. Plenty of games, plenty of talk about different beer and all sorts. There's so many wild and wonderful things that go on, but it's Fat Lads Going Goal. You can find us on Twitter and YouTube and all sorts. And that's sponsored by the Blues Trust as well. So and we do a little bit sort of promoting different charities as well, which I couldn't recommend anymore. Looking at in particular Libby May's Little Angels as well. That is a great charity to go and look at. But yeah, no, you can find our socials on Twitter and stuff. So just Fat Lads Going Goal. And if you want to follow me, it's T_Oxland 276.
Got to get yourself.
Of course, mate. Self-promotion.
I don't blame you. But yeah, Tom, thank you so much for coming on. I'll put a link down below in the description for his podcast. Maybe not his Twitter account. You can go in and do that.
But pleasure as always, mate.
Yeah, it's all right, mate. But yeah, if you're new around here, do make sure you leave a like and do subscribe if you are new around here as well. You can catch us on Instagram. It's the initials TBP TV. Catch us on Facebook at the Bear Pit TV and Twitter with the handle at the Bear Pit TV. Also on TikTok as well, and we're just Bear Pit TV. So do make sure to go and check out all our channels, and we will see you in the next one.